Wow. What a game. What a game to close out the regular season here for the NFL. And the playoffs have arrived, people. Let's start betting on the best football, hopefully, that we're going to see this season. I'm TommyFreezePops. I'm going to bring in my guys here, AC and Monotone Football. We're going to do it like we do every Sunday night. It is the opening line report. We're going to give you your first look at the playoff matchups that just dropped. So we're going to be getting some lines here as we speak. Let's dive right in. No wasting time here, people. Let's get people the info while they're still awake. Browns, -2, heading to Houston. Browns on the money line at -130. The Texans at +110 and a total of 44.5. AC, you are boots on the ground in Texas. I know it's not very close to Dallas, but you are in that state, so you go first. Sir, what's your lean?
Stu, I don't know about you, but I feel like I think the wrong team is favored. I know the Browns have been playing really well. I know Joe Flacco has had a renaissance, but I think people need to start looking at Houston as more of a young team that's overachieving. I think this is a very well-coached team. They understand what they need to do on offense and defense, and they have a quarterback, whether he's a rookie or not. They have a quarterback that doesn't turn over the ball. So all those things, especially at home, especially a short underdog, I kind of like Houston in this game. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Stu.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this one right here. I mean, CJ Stroud has been nothing short of spectacular. I was backing the Texans and I was backing CJ very heavily, with passing yards, touchdowns. I believed in him in every category this week. But now it's very interesting. This Cleveland defense is very good. They play more man coverage than any defense in the rest of the league, and that's by a pretty wide margin. A guy like Nico Collins, their number one wide receiver, has demolished zone coverage on the year and kind of struggled a little bit more against man. No Tank Dell anymore. Dalton Schultz similarly struggles against man. So for me, it'll be interesting to see how Houston, a team that's so young, so talented, they overcome a really tough defense. And on the other side, a guy like Joe Flacco, who out of nowhere, I don't know who would have expected this. It definitely wasn't me. But one thing to note, they're generating a lot of explosive plays through the use of play action. That's where they've been really efficient. Downfield passing on play action plays. And Houston, they've been very strong, but they actually have given up some explosive plays, especially in the second half of the season. So for me, when I see a line, kind of like how AC stated, he thinks the wrong team is favored, I try to lean towards Vegas in those situations. It's clear they're telling us something right here. They're obviously big fans of Cleveland in this one. So that would be my lean right now. I think if I had to pick Cleveland on the money line, I think I might be, making a total bet at some point. If we can get under the 44.5, maybe get through that key number down to 43.5, that would be kind of nice as well. I think Flacco and Stroud are both going to make some plays in this one. So it's a tough spread bet right here. I think it's going to be a close game. I think right now, though, the market is kind of telling us that Cleveland maybe should be the favorite right here.
All right, we got some breaking news here. The lines just dropped for the matchups that were just set. You can get the Dolphins as a 3-point dog at Kansas City. Kansas City on the money line at -162, and the Dolphins at +136, a total of 46.5. And this one kind of shocks me because it's a little bit of a big number, but I kind of get it because Buffalo's a much better team. Steelers, 9-point dogs in Buffalo here. You can get Buffalo on the money line at -410 and Pittsburgh at +310 with a total of 43. So, guys, any quick thoughts here on the Buffalo Bills, the newly crowned AFC East champions?
I mean, hey, I like the Bills, but 9 points is aggressive right here. I mean, Tomlin, if
big.
Nothing else, he's a covering machine. You can say what you want about this team, about freaking Mason Rudolph going into a playoff game, but at the end of the day, they're fighting. So for me, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to lay 9 points with Buffalo right here. I think more interestingly, 43 as a total. That's a surprisingly low total right there when Buffalo is on one side of the game. I mean, at the end of the day, if they score 24, they might have 2 pick sixes on the other side as well. So interesting to see a 9-point total or a 9-point spread, but only a 43-point total here.
I actually think the spread is going to move. I think it's going to go to 9.5 and even double digits to 10. We all know Pittsburgh struggles with their quarterback. I don't think they've even, really finalized or really decided on who's going to play quarterback for them, and it's already a playoff game. Buffalo is one of those teams where if they're clicking on all cylinders, then they can cover it really easy. I think the people who are against Buffalo or people who are scared to bet Buffalo large spreads like this is because they think Josh Allen is going to turn the ball over. And, he is leading the league in turnovers, and I think he has been the leader now for several years in a row. But it's really hard to cap turnovers. And the other thing I want to point out for this game is in the Northeast, upstate New York, we're going to see if there's bad weather. If there's bad weather, then I think it does favor Pittsburgh because they are the grittier team. They do have the pass rush. And, Watt is a game breaker. If you just have one strip sack, fumble recovery, one pick six, I think the game is definitely going to turn towards Pittsburgh. But for me, my initial lean is actually Buffalo, which is very, very weird because I don't usually bet Buffalo. And then on the other game, Tommy, you mentioned the Chiefs and the Dolphins. I think that is 100% going to be contingent on the weather. We know Miami doesn't play well on the road. They don't play well in bad condition and cold weather. That Lamborghini offense is meant to be, in South Beach, is meant to be in perfect conditions. And if it gets really gritty, and I know Patrick Mahomes has a lot of flair and a lot of flash to him, Patrick Mahomes is actually a very gritty quarterback, in my opinion, especially when there's adversity. He's able to, get that last drive in the first half to get points for you, or he's able to bring your team back in the fourth quarter to get it within a field goal, things like that. I think that is what makes Patrick Mahomes really, really special. And again, we haven't seen Mahomes lose that often at home in a playoff game, and it's hard to go against Mahomes.
Yeah, you feel like Miami really needed this game tonight more so than Buffalo, right? Miami needs that home playoff game for that offense to be as good as it can be. Although in the second half, it looked like the Monstars had lost all their power, and it was pretty pathetic there in the second half for the Dolphins offense. So, Stu, let's stick with this one. What's your lean here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this one. I mean, with how the trajectory of both of these teams this year, it's been insane. I mean, I'll immediately point out the total, 46.5. You mentioned the Ferrari. I mean, we got 2 Ferraris in this game. These are 2 incredibly exciting offenses right here. I think the total over is immediately going to be something I'm interested in. I mean, Tyreek Hill, revenge game. You guys know I love the player props. The numbers are going to be high. I don't think you can set them high enough. I don't see who's stopping Tyreek Hill. Additionally, we just saw this Miami team down Jalen Waddle, down Raheem Mostert, Xavier Howard. Hopefully all 3 of those guys will be back. Still, Bradley Chubb is unfortunately going to miss this game. So for me, surprisingly enough, I mean, I've been a lifelong Mahomes backer. It's been very successful in these high leverage games. I think I like Miami right here, but to be honest, I think I'm going to get a better price than 3, especially, I mean, if you're a Kansas City bettor, I think it'll be at 3 probably multiple times this week, but I don't think it's going to get any better than that, right? And if you're a Miami bettor on the other side, I think we might even get to 4 at certain points. 3.5 to me is a given at some point in the week. But if we're talking 4.5, I'm going to sit and see where the market goes because I want to take those points. I mean, to be honest, I don't know about if you guys have seen it. I love Mahomes, but he only can buy you so many points. And are we really trusting this version of the Chiefs offense to cover 4, 5, 6?
Yeah, a couple of very interesting points here. And sorry, Tom, if you wanted to go to the next game, but I think this is, although that this is going to be on Saturday night, this is somewhat of a shortened week for Miami, and they have to be on the road. They're playing here late Sunday night. They just lost in a heartbreaker. I felt like they were controlling that game until the punt return, but it's a short week to Saturday. They're going to be traveling. And then not only that, but Kansas City basically had a bye week in week 18. They rested most of their starters against the Chargers and still somehow pulled out a win. I don't know. The line is a little fishy, so I agree with Stu. The initial read is probably Kansas City, but if it goes any higher, 3.5, 4, then I'm actually going to be on the Kansas City side.
So we've had movement in both games since we started here, since the news broke of those lines. Miami now a 3.5-point dog heading to Kansas City, and Pittsburgh 9.5, as you predicted, AC. So I think both of those things are going to continue to move. I mean, we are a short-term memory society here. Buffalo just won. Miami just lost. So people are going to start to bet on the Chiefs. They're going to start to bet on the Bills. These lines are going to move over the next 24 hours. So very curious to see where these land. If you like a certain side, maybe you want to get on these numbers quickly before things start to get out of hand. All right, let's take a look at the Rams, a 3.5-point dog heading to Detroit. You can get the Lions on the money line at -180 and the Rams at +150 and a total of 51. This would be the most Lions thing ever to blow this game to Sean McVay and the Rams. To have Goff lose to his former master, the Grasshopper loses to Mr. Miyagi here. And I'm rooting for it. As someone that has been screwed by the Lions all season long, give me the Rams. I will be hammering Rams 3.5. I will be hammering Rams +150. Go Rams. I love the Rams here. AC, why don't you kick us off here? Because I know that you've been a Lions backer at times here this season. Why should I even think about betting Detroit? Because I'm all in on the Rams.
I'll say this. First of all, don't bet with your heart.
I always bet with my heart, AC.
If you think the Rams have the edge, definitely bet the Rams. I do feel like I've gotten a pretty good read on the Lions so far this season. But this is a completely different situation for them. This is a home playoff game. This is probably I don't even know what the statistic is, but it's probably the first home playoff game for them for several years. Probably I don't remember Stafford had one because I know he traveled for a couple of his playoff games. But yeah, this is very interesting in terms of all the storylines. We know the big trade from a few years ago that propelled the Rams to win their Super Bowl. Stafford, Goff, all the, intertwining of all this coaching staff as well. But I think Detroit here, we talked about this in a couple episodes ago. I think Detroit is built for the dome setting. It's built for the fast speed of the turf. And LA is similar, but Detroit's just a lot younger, a lot faster, a lot more athletic. I'll say this, though. Matt Stafford is, to me, one of the more underrated quarterbacks when we're looking into like clutch situations. I think it's hard for him to come back from 2 or 3 scores. But if it's within 1 score in the fourth quarter, I actually like Stafford slinging the ball around just because I don't think the nervousness gets to him. So I like Stafford if it's a close game, but if it's going to be like at least a 1 or 2 possession game, I do think Detroit's going to pull away.
Now, just look that up here, AC. This will be Detroit's first home playoff game since 1993. Stu was not alive the last time Detroit had a home playoff game. And
That's
it
got
looks
to be
like
Scott Mitchell, Herman Moore, like those years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Barry Sanders, obviously, Herman Moore. And the total in this one already up to 52. So we're up a point since this one was set. Stu, who you got in this one? Should I be backing the Rams?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're scaring me a little bit because we're on the same side here, but I know you haven't been on the right side too many times, but I'm hoping we can fix that this week. I'm with you. I like the Rams. I think this is going to be a good teaser opportunity too, especially if that number, increases even more throughout the week. I was hoping I could get a lower total than this, but the books were sharp on it because these two teams have very similar weaknesses. Neither of these guys are very good defenses. In the beginning of the year, the Lions kind of paper tigers, looked a little bit better on paper. They're still a pretty solid above average rush defense. They get some solid pressure on the opposing quarterback, but the the secondary is really not good. And that's what Matthew Stafford is going to be able to take care of. Additionally, essentially, if you can run on the Lions, you can beat them. The only teams that have had success against them have been able to run at least at a decent rate, while pretty much every team they've destroyed, they've completely stuffed the run. The Rams have been a surprisingly efficient rushing offense this year. Kyron Williams, top 5 in success rate so far this year, been one of the biggest surprise, fantasy stories of the year. And what I really like about the Rams is the Rams run to pass. Essentially, that is the heart of the team. They like running. They run a lot on paper, but they run to set up the pass. That's kind of the Shanahan system in a heart. But I mean, McVay has really accelerated that, been a lot more aggressive right here. It's kind of, I've been tweeting it all year long. I think they have the best quarterback coach combination in the NFC. At one point, that was a Jalen Hurts tweet that turned into a Brock Purdy tweet. There's been a lot of craziness. There's been a lot of arguments. It feels like people still aren't talking about the Rams offense. The problem, the downfall, is still the defense. Neither of these two teams have very good defenses. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a battle. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take the Rams right here. I'm hoping we even get a better number at some point, because at the end of the day, it's been a fun season with the Lions. They do a lot of crazy stuff. Dan Campbell's pumping his chest, going for it on 4th and 7, but I don't really know if that's going to work come playoff time. And McVay has been in these positions before. He's ice cold. This team had a 6.5 win total before the year, and look what he's done. Look where he's brought them so far. It's kind of hard to jump off ship now. I'm going to take the Rams in this one.
Stu made a couple good points there, because both of these teams have very similar weaknesses, and I think it's whoever can control the script of the game. I think Detroit wants it to be up and down, run and shoot, just like a basketball team. They want it to be, very fast, time of possession, really, really quick. But the Rams can play that style as well. I just don't think McVay wants to play that in this particular matchup. I think against the other teams where they're slogging around and they're not high scoring, then he's going to really pick up the pace. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And I think you'll find out early in the first quarter how McVay wants to play his offense, if it's quick and fast. And I think the over is a great live play. But if you see him running a lot on 1st and 2nd down and not setting it up to pass until the second half, I think it's an under live play. So definitely watch this game, because I agree with Stu. The weaknesses are there, and I think both of them can take advantage of it pretty easily. But does one team want to do it more than the other? So we'll see.
So our guy Tommy Salami here on X bringing up a good point. Down Laporta for the Lions, and that's a huge, huge factor for that offense. He has been a safety net for Goff all season long. He had an awesome season. So very good point there. Another reason why I will be backing the adult in the room, Sean McVay. People were talking about the Rams as a tanking option for Caleb Williams. Keep the LA boy home. And look where they are. I think he's unquestionably the best coach in the NFL right now. I mean, to do that with this roster, kudos to him and kudos to that organization. All right, we are going to go to a game that has already seen some movement on that total. The Eagles, 2.5-point favorites heading into Tampa. The money line, you can get the Eagles at -148 and Tampa at +124. This was at 45. It's already down to 44.5. So, look, I kind of feel like this is going to be an ugly game. And I kind of like Tampa. I feel like their arrow is heading in the right direction right now. Eagles clearly heading in the wrong direction for what we've seen to close out the season here. We saw Jalen Hurts' finger pointed in the wrong direction in this game today. A.J. Brown banged up, a few other guys not as healthy as you'd like them to be. They're an older team. And Tampa, look, they're just kind of playing with house money here. They got Baker freaking Mayfield as their quarterback after a year with Tom Brady. So I kind of like the Bucs in an upset here. Am I crazy? AC, talk me off the ledge.
So I'm going to agree with Stu here in terms of his sentiments all year long. I think the Philadelphia Eagles have been very overrated. I think they came off with a really hot start, and then, reality hit, and they haven't really bounced back from that adversity. But I'll say this. I still think from a talent standpoint, Philadelphia is definitely in the top tier in the entire league. And if you're looking to buy low on a team, if you're looking to buy a team that is going to have a surprise run in the playoffs, I think Philadelphia is primed for that. And I know you mentioned a couple of things, AJ being banged up, Jalen Hurts with his, broken middle finger. I actually think that's a good thing, because I think when Philadelphia makes it an ugly game, lean on that offensive line, lean on Jalen Hurts' ability to run, to play action pass, to RPO with his really good running backs, especially if Swift is going to be playing. I think that's when Philly is at their best. The issue with Philadelphia throughout the years, they're trying to win these games 40-25 instead of trying to win them 25-10, because those uglier games, the more talented team, in my opinion, is where they're more superior. So I like Philadelphia. I can't trust Todd Bowles in a big game. I know Tampa Bay had a really nice season. They had a nice win. I think they ended the season winning 5 of the last 6 outright, which is super impressive. Baker Mayfield is going to end up being like a top 3 comeback player of the year. All of it is really, really good news and positive for Tampa Bay, but I can't trust that coaching staff in a big game. I do know Nick Sirianni can win big games. I'm actually going to go Philadelphia in this one.
This one feels like it could kind of set up as one of those sharps versus squares game, where I feel like all the people that you respect and you like, and they come out and they have the really ugly play, those guys are going to be on Philly. And I think a lot of the public is going to sway towards Tampa Bay, just because Philadelphia, their downfall has been so public, right? They started off so strong, they were on top of the mountain, and then we've just slowly seen them kind of fall off in the second half of the season. And there hasn't been that one like definitive moment that we can point to and say, well, look, they did what they were supposed to do against the Cardinals, or they took care of business against the Giants. They didn't, right? We've seen them struggle in back-to-back very good situations. My problem here, these two teams, once again, they have very similar weaknesses, very strong rush defenses on each side, and terrible secondaries. I've come on here and I've criticized Todd Bowles a lot this season and Dave Canales because Tampa Bay loves to aggressively run the ball on first and second down. This is the number one DVOA rush defense you're going against right here. If there's one team that you'd slightly abandon that strategy for, I think it would be the Eagles, because we've seen they can't stop a traffic cone, right? The secondary can't stop anybody at all. And finally, in the second half of the season, we've seen the Bucs realize maybe instead of running the ball up the middle, we could check the ball down to Rachaad White, and he could, get a catch instead of a carry. And look, we can go against a linebacker in space rather than inefficiently right up the middle. That's how you beat this Eagles team. Literally check the ball down the field, and Baker Mayfield can do that. Baker Mayfield has been extremely efficient on third down so far this year. For me, this is a tough one. 2.5 is a fair number. The way I look at it, I'm starting all of my teasers in this game. I'm teasing the Bucs up. You get through 2 key numbers right here. You get over 3. You get over 7 right there. For me, the Bucs are going to be a very popular teaser. Like, even if the Eagles do win this game, they have not beat anybody by margin this year. They are not covering big spreads whatsoever. AC said it. If they win it, I think it's ugly. I think it's grimy. We're running the ball a little bit more. That's perfect for the teaser. So that's where I'm going in this game.
So before we go to the next game, I just want to check back in on a number here. It's now 10 for Pittsburgh in Buffalo. 10-point dogs. Buffalo at minus 520 on that money line. And the total is down to 41. So we continue to see this thing move throughout the broadcast. That's a full point since we started 24 minutes ago. And I think it could move even more here, guys. Again, America just saw Buffalo win the deciding game here in Miami to win the AFC East. They also just saw Miami lose to the Bills and that offense not look as good. And we saw the total now move in that game with Kansas City. We're now down to 45 here. So America is making their voice be heard here, people. Numbers are a-moving. And let's go ahead and hear from our guy in Dallas on his boys. A touchdown favorite here with the Packers coming into town. A classic NFC rivalry here. Packers, Cowboys. Dallas minus 320 on the money line. Packers at plus 250 and a total of 48. So look, the Packers, they had a surprising-ish season. It was kind of up and down. Basically, once Jordan Love figured it out, this team went in the right direction here. And now here they are going up against a Dallas team that took care of business today and has seemingly righted the ship, right? So what do we do here with the Cowboys as a pretty heavy favorite at home hosting the Packers here, AC? How are you feeling about your boys?
Yeah, so I actually think the line here moved as well. I think Dallas is getting that hook at -7.5, and the total has moved up to 49.5. Some books have it at 50. So a lot of adjustment, a lot of things happening as we record. It's tough because I actually think Dallas's defense is a little overrated. I know that they have a really good pass rush headlined by Micah Parsons, but you can run the ball on this team. And then you can actually screen this team really well because they rush up the field so quickly, and it leaves their secondary in really bad situations. I know their secondary has been very, very opportunistic this season. Pick sixes, interceptions, fumble recoveries, things like that. It's been great. Dan Quinn has done an unbelievable job so far. But I would say people are underrating the missing of Diggs, Trayvon Diggs, his brother. He's in my opinion, the best one-on-one covered corner that Dallas has. Deron Bland again has been really good, but it's much different now in the playoff situation. And there's a lot of storylines, right? You know, Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl with Green Bay. He got fired, took a year off, and then joined Dallas, and now his ex-team is coming down. There's a lot of like weird things going on here. So I actually like Green Bay. I actually like that hook +7.5. I know Dallas has been a tank at home. They were 8-0 this season. They covered against all these bad teams. But at the end of the day, Dallas really dominates bad teams. When it comes to good teams, it's really up and down, right? They got killed by Buffalo, lost but to Miami. Obviously they were 1-1 against Philadelphia. So against good teams, it's tough to really assess this team. I think Dak is ready to make that leap. And again, this is a home playoff game. So I think if they win this game, I think they will finally break the 28-year curse and make the conference championship. But they have to get through this game first. So I actually like Green Bay.
Okay, so you like Green Bay to cover, but you like your Cowboys to win here, it sounds like. And our guy B-Ball Pains checking in, excited about his Cowboys, and he wanted to know who you got, Cowboys, Packers. Sounds like our Cowboys backer here has the Cowboys taking care of business here. We got our guy Chris Bush checking in, Chris Bush, I should say. He got a Cowboys Bills Super Bowl here. He's riding high with the red hot Buffalo Bills. So shout out to our guy Chris Bush here on X. And as we talk about this Cowboys game here with our guy AC, I want to hear what our guy Stu here has to say, because he's been a bit of a Jordan Love believer, if I'm not mistaken, throughout the season. And I'd like to know, are you believing enough to call the upset here with the Cheeseheads down in Dallas?
I am. I'm believing. Let's ride one more time with Jordan Love right here. I kind of agree with AC. I'm not sure if we're going to win this game, but one thing I do think is I think we can cover the spread, especially how you mentioned how important that hook is, getting from 7 to 7.5 right here. You want to win. What I like the most about this game, I'll keep it very simple. Dallas plays the second most single high safety coverage in the NFL. They trust their guys in man coverage. They say you win one-on-one. We're not putting the safeties back. It's your responsibility to go out there and win. And guess what? They've got some good corners. That's worked a decent amount of the year. But the way Dallas plays is very interesting. They are a very boom or bust offense. They rely a lot on explosive plays. They rely a lot on the deep ball. And Jordan Love is a guy with one of the highest average air yards per attempt in the NFL, right? So this is a guy that they did not protect him in this system. They said, you go out there and you make plays, right? Another team that very much benefits from play action. So what I like the most is Green Bay is very comfortable passing the ball down the field. That's what they want to do. That's what they're game planning for. And I think you can do that against Dallas. Dallas has some good corners, but a guy like Bland is a guy that has had some highlight plays. He's also been targeted by multiple offensive coordinators over the last couple weeks because he's a guy that these coordinators know is going to be aggressive. He's going to go for those 50-50 balls, and he's going to try to make a play. And when you try to make a play and there's no extra line of protection behind you, that's also how you give up a 70-yard bomb. A guy like Christian Watson could be back as well, reinforcing that wide receiver room. It's a lot of young guys. It's a scrappy team. It's impressive that they've made it this far. The defense is not good. I haven't got there yet. Dallas is going to score at will. Barry needs to go after this year. I appreciate how they started the season, but Dallas and what Dak has done, they're going to destroy them on the defensive side of the ball. So for me, it's just how much can Jordan Love keep up, right? And I think it'll be enough. I think it'll be a close game. I think we're going to see him continue to shine.
And Stu, it's not only Jordan Love. I mean, Aaron Jones is back, and it really provides that offense with a different dynamic. And that's really going to take advantage of one of Dallas's biggest weaknesses as a team, and that's run defense. You saw a ton of teams that beat Dallas this season. They were able to run all over that defense, especially in the middle, because they're just not very they're just slight in nature. Another thing is I've been in that building for 4 or 5 playoff games in the last decade. And if it's a close game coming down the end, you can cut the tension. Literally, you can cut the tension with a knife. It's going to be super pin drop quiet. Everybody's going to be murmuring about how here we go again, or Romo's going to fail, Dak is going to fail. Like, you can feel the pressure in that room, and I'm sure you could feel it on TV as well. So if Jordan Love gets his team within one possession in that fourth quarter, don't be surprised if Dallas just tightens up a little bit.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that Dallas crowd get tight. It's fun. It's just fun to see the Cowboy fans start to, go crazy as things get a little tight there down the stretch. That's what I'm rooting for, AC. But you know what? I want you guys to win because I like my friends to be happy. So I want
appreciate it. Thank you, Tommy.
You guys to get that dub, but I want it to be close. Although our guy Hayden here on YouTube saying never doubt Jordan Love.
I'm a big Jordan Love
fan
too.
Love. We like Jordan Love on this show,
yeah.
But we're gonna roll with the boys here, so our guy AC can be happy.
And another thing, Tommy, sorry, if Jordan Love can extend these plays, let's say he gets out of the pocket, runs around a little bit, the cornerbacks and the safeties are not going to be able to keep with this really, really young, athletic wide receiver core. So if Dallas wants to be successful on defense, they need to keep Jordan Love in the pocket, in my opinion. And then if they handle Aaron Jones and make that team one-dimensional, then I think they can really pull away in this game. A lot of people don't realize, even though Dallas has a lot of great numbers and Dak has had a historic season, not only for him, not only for the franchise, but if you look at it from a NFL history standpoint, it's been an awesome year for Dak. But that team has struggled running the ball themselves. Like, Tony Pollard has been a little disappointing. Rico Dowdy has been, a nice change of pace, but no one's really broken games open because of their running. And so if Dallas wants to be successful, I think they actually have to pass to set up the run in this game, which is going to be interesting to watch.
So before we wrap up here, and I want to hear from our listeners on who they got winning the Super Bowl as well. So drop those in to the chat here on YouTube and on X. But we got the field now, right? So let's go through the futures here on Super Bowl champion. You can get the Niners as the favorites at plus 220, the Ravens at plus 310, the Bills at plus 650 in that third spot, the Cowboys at plus 800, the Chiefs at plus 950. I kind of like that at 950 for the Chiefs. I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to win, but I think that's good value on Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles at plus 1500, the Dolphins at plus 1600, the Lions at plus 1800. Do not bet that. The Texans at plus 3,500, the Browns at plus 3,500, the Rams at plus 5,000, the Bucks at plus 5,500, the Packers at plus 9,000, and the Steelers at plus 15,000 to win the Super Bowl. I bet there's actually going to be a bunch of yinzers betting on that because that's what these people do. They love to back the Steelers. I think I saw the Steelers were the second biggest liability for Vegas heading into this season because, well, people were hot on them in the preseason, but people just love to bet on the Steelers. So there you go. AC, Stu, whoever wants to go first here. Why don't we give the floor to Stu here? Who do you have winning the Super Bowl at this very moment? Or is there a number that you just want to sprinkle on because you like the value?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's luckily a number. I have a better one because we talked about it earlier in the year. I like the Ravens to win the Super Bowl right now. I think they should probably be the favorite. I mean, I love San Francisco, but at the end of the day, man, we've seen Shanahan in these huge situations. Amazing. He is the best game, designer in the league. But in terms of in-game management, he's not great. He's barely even an average coach in that department. So It'll be interesting to see how maybe the 49ers navigate an uncomfortable situation. In my opinion, I think the Ravens have kind of been through the ringer. They, weeded out their early season struggles, new offensive system. And I think, man, they look really good now. So for me, they can do it on both sides of the ball. One of the best defensive coordinators in the league, one of the best coach quarterback combos. But to me, the biggest thing I realized when you were reading that list is I don't think there's that much separating the long shots in the middle tier, right? Like I don't want to bet Eagles 1,500. I don't want to bet some of those ugly numbers. I'd rather you just give me CJ Stroud and say, you know what? This guy is probably the best thing we've seen out the gate since Patrick Mahomes in that second season. This is his first season, by the way. No year of sitting behind anyone. Spectacular. Maybe you want to ride that magic. I think the biggest thing holding me back, I know a lot of people said a lot of good things about him. I'm not really the biggest fan of DeMeco Ryans in-game management. I mean, I don't think you can win. Like if you've got a Ferrari at quarterback, you need to stop making in-game decisions like it's Alex Smith, right? It's all these defensive kind of head coaches. It's just naturally conservative game planning. That's kind of what worries me. That's what holds me back from clicking that long shot on the Texans. But I'd still rather go to a Texans and I'd rather go to a Rams than I would kind of stick in that ugly middle tier. I don't want the Bills at 650 either. I've been a supporter of them all year long. You missed the window already. If you were impressed last night, it's too late. I'm sorry. Tonight, sorry. I'm sorry to tell you, you've had like 4 months to bet their futures at amazing prices and it's slammed shut now. So I would say avoid the middle tier. The top doesn't offend me, and I would, go dumpster diving on some of these long shots.
Yeah, I like how Stu assesses players and coaches, because a lot of how a coach, let's just take Kyle Shanahan, is successful is really situational, right? And we haven't seen him be successful in the playoffs or in very high leverage situations. The very interesting thing about these top four front runners when it comes to the Super Bowl: Niners, you have the Shanahan factor, who's never won. Ravens, you have Lamar Jackson, who's never won. The Bills, Josh Allen has never won. And the Cowboys, they haven't won in basically 3 decades. So the top four options are going to be teams that basically are going to win for the first time. I know those teams have won previously, but for this era, for this generation of players, it'll be the first time for them. And as we talked, the Cowboys just went from plus 800 to plus 750, by the way. In my opinion, a guy that's won, a guy that's done amazing in playoff road games, and a guy that has an elite defense behind him is Joe Flacco. I know nobody wants to talk about the Browns, but at 35-1, yes, they have to win 3 road games and then the Super Bowl game to win it all. But Joe Flacco has done that before, and I just like value on guys or teams that have already accomplished it, something that we've already seen. Just like last year, right? If you look at the Chiefs and the Eagles, like the Eagles were the hot pick. They were a dominant team, but until I see them win it, I couldn't go against Kansas City, for example. So, I think the best value is 35-1 Cleveland, and I'm sure you could have gotten a way better number, a month or two ago. But talking about right now, and I don't have any futures, so I don't have things to hedge or anything to add to my position. I think 35-1 is a great spot, especially if I'm going to lean Houston in that first game, right? It's kind of like a natural hedge.
All right. I like it, boys. And by the way, we have movement in both of the Chiefs and Bills games as well. Bills back down a half point here. The Steelers a 9.5 point dog here. That total down to 40. So that total keeps dropping,
wow,
which I think is interesting. And the total in the Dolphins Chiefs game now down to 44.5. So this is the most line movement we've had while recording a show ever, which is very fun. So shout out to our friends at DraftKings for hooking up the general public with the up-to-date odds and, being an overall fantastic sports book. So we thank our partner DraftKings for a fantastic regular season. And we got the playoffs ahead here, people. We're going to be here all throughout the postseason, giving you guys the goods and helping you get those early leans here before all the lines go crazy. You can take advantage. If you were watching when we first went live, you were going to be able to take advantage on all that stuff that just broke. So congrats to you guys who are locked in. AC, before you go, any final thoughts here on the final week of the NFL? Anything, in addition on your boys here ahead of the Packers game? What do you got before we let you go?
Man, no real final thoughts on the Cowboys. I would say when you see lines touch numbers and then come back down, for example, the Bills-Steelers game, it touched 10 and came back down. And Stu knows this very well. I mean, those are signals to buy, right? If it ever touches 10 again for Pittsburgh, that's when you want to buy, because it probably means the sharps are also jumping in, and that's what's pushing the line back down to 9.5. But I would say, I guess the one piece of advice as we get into the postseason, and this is relevant for every sport, the postseason does become a lot sharper. So definitely stay on your toes, monitor the lines, monitor injury news, things like that up to the last minute, because the books are 100% focused on these games more than, a regular season game. So definitely, check out our website, definitely check out our models. And if you have any questions, reach out to myself, Stu, or Tommy, because we can help you out as well.
AC, thank you, buddy. We will be talking to you next Sunday after the game wraps up on Peacock, I believe. I think next Sunday night is on Peacock. So download Peacock, I guess. See you, buddy.
All right, bye.
All right, Stu, here we go. Early prop leans for the postseason. I mean, AC made a good point there. There's only 6 games here for the books to worry about. So not only are they going to be sharp on your big markets here, they're going to be sharp on these prop leans. So why don't you give the people the goods here? What should people be looking to bet on when these markets become available?
Yeah, I think for me, number one on the list, something we're immediately going to. We're going to the Bucs offense. I talked about it earlier. I like Baker Mayfield. I'm going to be going to passing yards. It'll be interesting to see where they price Mike Evans versus Chris Godwin, especially with Godwin coming on so strong at the end of the season. So I'll likely be going to one of the wide receivers, but it's obvious. I mean, Mayfield, with his passing success in the second half of the year, combined with the Eagles' defensive back-end struggles, combined with the fact that they're rushing part of the defense is really the only strong part of the defense. So for me, when you look at that game plan, it's extremely obvious. The Bucs are going to have to pass the ball. They've really only been successful passing the ball so far this year, and I think that's going to be how they win this game. So I definitely want to attack that. Another spot, I think it's going to be really obvious. I think we're going to get a surprisingly good number. I'm going right back to the Josh Allen interception. When has that ever led you wrong? I know you're thinking, well, the price is probably going to be bad. It was minus 110 this week, guys. It was minus 110 in a close matchup where he's expected to throw the ball all game. Next week, they're heavy favorites. He's not going to be implied to throw the ball as much. The sports books, I think, are actually going to give us a surprisingly reasonable number on Allen to throw an interception. And I think that's a mistake, because that would be on the basis that this team would run the ball extremely heavily and protect the ball a lot when they're ahead, but they've never done that. Even in this new system, as we've seen, they still turn the ball over at similar rates when they're leading than when they're trailing, because this is an aggressive passing team no matter what. Because guess what? Josh Allen's your quarterback, and that's what you sign up for when you have a Josh Allen. So definitely want him for an interception. Once again, we'll go to one more spot. We'll talk about that Rams-Lions game. Oh boy, that is going to be a fun one for me. I think it's pretty obvious, man. I mean, Sam Laporta is now down, right? So when you look at this Lions offense, that's one piece weakened. I think a lot of people are rightfully going to go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to get a little uglier. We're going to go Jameson Williams, a guy they drafted He's been injured. He had the gambling suspension. He's been under the radar, but he's finally playing full wide receiver 2 snaps. And one thing I've noticed, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like playing him when Goff is really under pressure. That's when the target share absolutely explodes. It's when Goff is being pressured, right? And in this matchup, the Rams pass rush is really the least threatening part of their defense, right? Aaron Donald is a stud. We know and love him, but beyond that, can you name another member of that line? No, you cannot. There's good reason for that. I don't see much pressure on the quarterback, and I think that's going to come up huge. So for me, those are the 3 spots I'm looking at. I think we got plenty of opportunity, plenty of offense. I mentioned all 3 of those games. I think we're going to see a lot of opportunity. So as we see lines drop, use the OddsTrader app, line shop, make sure you're getting the best odds. One book might have 46 yards, another might have 52. That's the difference. When you do this every day, you really realize how much stuff like that matters. In an app that's free and it takes 5 seconds, that can make all the difference at times.
My man put it best. OddsTrader.com. Go to the App Store, download it for your iPhone. Go to the Google Play Store, download it on your Android if you're still a green texter in the year 2024. And look, it's the best in class sports betting predictive AI. So you'll want that ahead of the NFL postseason here. We want to help you be better bettors, and it's free. That's the best part. So go in there, take a look at what we got, listen to what we have to say, and use your own judgment. Go out there and be a smart bettor, and let's win bets, because the postseason is that much more fun when you're putting money in your pocket. So we will be back next week. And again, I don't remember if the Saturday night game or the Sunday night game is on Peacock. So it's an NBC product of some type. We will be on afterwards, and we will preview divisional weekend. We will be your first look at divisional weekend. And hopefully you are able to have a super wild card weekend, because it's super wild card weekend. I don't know why we decided to add the word super in front of wild card weekend, but we did. And it's super, baby. All right, that's going to do it. Shout out to my Pats, number 3 overall pick. Your boys, Commanders, number 2 overall pick. I can't wait for Caleb Williams and Drake May to be awesome, and then whoever comes to us at 3rd to be absolute trash. Really excited for it, guys. We'll talk to you next week.